Hey, good afternoon, participatory democracy fans. Paul Kritz from KFUG Community Radio. It is a Sunday, it is noon, it is time to replay something special for you that we all should hear. This last Monday at the United Methodist Church in Crescent City, the True North Organizing Network hosted a forum for all 7 of the candidates seeking election or re-election to the Board of Supervisors here in Del Norte County. KFUG wasn't there, but Jessica Sanar of the Wild Rivers Outpost was, and she did us a solid and recorded said forum in its entirety. So we are playing that forum back for you. This is from last Monday night at the United Methodist Church True North Organizing Network's Board of Supervisors Candidate Forum for you in its entirety here on KFUG Community Radio.
I'd like to give them a round of applause for showing up tonight. I'm really impressed that we got all 7 of them out here. I'd also like to, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Pastor Dana Gilport. I am the pastor of this church, and it makes my heart so happy to see all of these pews. If you were Sunday morning, I would like to make a special note of some key public figures that have shown up tonight. We have Heidi Kime right here, and thank you for showing up on your birthday. Yeah. We have Board Supervisor Chris Howard in the back. Thank you. We have City Council Member Alex Fallman. I don't know where there you are. Thank you. And we have the Harbor Commissioner, Brian Stone. Right on, there you are. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. We really appreciate all of you showing up to support your candidates for Board of Supervisor. I wanted to, again, reiterate, in case you haven't heard me, please no food or drink in the sanctuary other than water. If you want food or drink other than water, make your way to the back room. And if you need the restrooms, you go out those doors that you came in through, past the table, towards the back of the sanctuary, and they'll be on your left-hand side. So if you need them, feel free to go out and use them. Yeah, you know how to use bathrooms. So the purpose for tonight is all of the candidates running for Del Norte County Board of Supervisors came out tonight so that each of us can make an informed decision on March 3rd when we go out and vote. But the purpose of tonight's meeting is really much bigger than just coming to hear what the candidates have to say. Tonight is about hearing from some of those who are close to the pain in our community. Tonight is about building power to create change. We want everyone here to make a commitment to vote in the primary elections and beyond. And if you are not eligible to vote, please encourage your friends and family who are able to vote. I don't believe that you would be here tonight if you weren't excited about voting. But if you are not, hopefully this stirs your enthusiasm for it. And finally, though, tonight is about building an inclusive community. That's why a different diverse group of people from different parts of this county are leading the meeting. And it's why we are translating into Spanish and providing childcare so that all families have the opportunity to participate fully. And I would now like to welcome Amber Jensaw to come forward and do a land acknowledgement.
Shahushi Amber. Hello, my name is Amber in the Tolowa language. I'm a Yurok tribal member with ancestral heritage ties to the Tolowa Dani. The land on which we gather upon today was formerly known as the village of Ta'atin. Due to the genocide from the settlers, Ta'atin is now known as Crescent City. I'd like to take a moment of silence to show our condolences and show appreciation for those who were originally here.
Thank you. I'd like like to invite Mike Tompkins to tell you a little bit about True North and what exactly we're doing here tonight.
Thank you, Amber. My name, as you heard, is Mike Tompkins. I've been a leader with True North for over 5 years now. I was attracted to this organization by the idea that I could actually have a positive effect on the conditions and the process that make this community what it is. My family came here in the late 60s, bought property in Fort Dick, and made this community our home. I love this community and this land, and I intend to stay here to the very end. And that's why I work with my fellow leaders to make this beautiful place an even better place to live for all of us. A little about True North Community Organizing Network. It is a nonpartisan organization working in Del Norte, Humboldt County, and adjacent tribal lands. We are families, elders, youth, and individuals of diverse faith traditions, races, cultures, and economic capacities. True North is a member of the Faith in Action National Network, one of the largest community-based efforts in the country, working in over 140 cities and 17 states. And we are affiliated with Pico, California on a state level. True North believes that human dignity is the heart of justice and progress, and that for a true and honest democracy to thrive, every person needs the opportunity to be heard and respected, and to have a say in the decisions that shape their lives. True North believes that when people have power, they can protect the things that are important to their families and to their communities, and that one way to have power is to build strong, broad-based, grassroots organizations. True North believes in providing community leaders with the tools, coaching, and infrastructure needed to create the kind of systemic change that can help everyone in our community thrive. Some of the organizing successes that True North has had here in Del Norte County include developing and delivering to the school superintendent a program and toolbox for increasing family engagement in students' education, providing significant input into the language and content of the school district's updated bullying district policy that was unanimously passed in December of 2019. Successfully advocating for the addition of one more counselor in Del Norte elementary school sites through the 2018-2019 LCAP community input meetings, getting a resolution to end homelessness passed unanimously by both the Crescent City Council and the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors in the fall of 2018. And most recently, we have been invited by the Board of Supervisors to develop a homeless and housing advisory group. Thank you. Now back to you, Dan.
We are so excited to hear how the candidates will respond to the questions we've prepared. But before we do so, I want to go over some background and expectations for our meeting. This is a nonpartisan forum, therefore we do not allow any signs, literature, or materials that endorse a candidate or a political party. We believe in a culture of respect, and that means that each candidate should be heard fully. In the interest of time, please hold all of your applause, even if you hear something really phenomenal, until after the end of the forum. Please set your phones to vibrate or silent now, so that it doesn't happen in the middle of when one of the candidates is speaking, because oftentimes that will jar our train of thought when we're speaking, especially off the cuff, and it disrupts our train of thought. We wanted to host this forum in a way that respects everyone's time, so we ask that all speakers please stick to the time limits and pay attention to our timekeeper, Susan. Susan, if you would wave, she will hold up 1-minute cards, 30-second cards, 10-second cards, and you need to stop talking right now. And if you keep talking past that "you need to stop talking now" card, I will cut you off. I'll do it lovingly, Lori. Tonight's 4 questions were developed by a team of True North core leaders. They are based on issues that have come from active work that we are involved with in this community, as well as reflect some of the current issues and priorities that True North leaders and community members that we are in relationship with. So they were not just haphazardly created, they were very thoughtfully created. All candidates were invited to attend tonight's forum and each received the questions in advance in order to develop a thoughtful response. And then when you were invited here, as I mentioned earlier, if you were here earlier, all of you had a chance to fill out an index card with a question that you would pose to the candidate. Someone will collect those now. We'll be passing around wooden bowls to collect those cards, and then we will synthesize those and sort them out and bring them forward, and it'll be the 4th question to ask. If you think of any other questions over the course of the evening and you've already handed in your card, don't worry, there will be time to mingle afterwards and you can ask the candidates those burning questions afterwards, but if you don't hand in that card now, it won't get considered for our community card question. If you please don't wander around the church. We have other events going on tonight other than this one, especially in the room that is just across the hall this way. So please try not to get bored and start wandering into other rooms because we want to respect their privacy. And my last rule for the night is please refrain from cursing in the sanctuary. If you want to use profanity, that's fine, just outside the doors of the sanctuary, not here. This is a house of worship. Thank you so much, and let's enjoy the forum. That is my last rule. So we will now hear opening statements from each candidate, and we will start with Mr. Pritchett.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, True North, for putting this together. I think they deserve a big round of applause. I'm breaking the rules already. I've also been asked to tell everybody that when the speakers are done, you do not have to say amen. I came to this community in 1991, and it quickly became my home. I had chances to go other opportunities in other locations, excuse me, and I chose to stay here because this is a very special place. It's a place where my wife Donna and I have raised our families, where we put down roots. But there are things that need to be changed. As I said in my candidate statement, District 1's voice is no longer being heard. It's not heard in Washington, D.C., or in Sacramento, or even in the Flynn Center. And that must change. I'm running to build bridges, not to burn them. We must bring civility back to our board meetings. We can disagree without being disagreeable. We can be passionate without being poisonous. And the one thing I can promise you, ladies and gentlemen, is that I will work with all members of the board without regard of their political party. John Kennedy said it many years ago, and it's more true today than ever before. Let us not look for the Republican answer or the Democratic answer. Let us look for the right answer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming tonight, and remember to vote on March 3rd.
Well, first I'd like to thank True North for organizing this forum and inviting me to participate in it, and thank you for coming to hear us. My name's Darren Short. I'm running for District 1 seat on the Board of Supervisors. I have served my community in a few different ways. Starting with my government experience, I served on the Crescent City Planning Commission. Did that for a year and a half, and then I was appointed to the Crescent City City Council and sat there for 3 years. As part of being on the City Council, I was appointed to multiple boards and committees, such as Del Norte Transportation Commission, Redwood Coast Transit Authority Board, Tri-Agency Economic Development Board, and I also sat with Senator Mike McGuire on the No Place Like Home committee. Another way I've served this community is volunteerism. I'm proud to say that I've been a volunteer fireman in this community for over 30 years. I've worked my way up to the battalion chief position, and I'm proud of myself for that. And I'm proud of all of our firefighters in this county who are all volunteers. Not sure if anybody is aware of that. My wife and I have raised our family here. We have 6 children together, 2 of which are still at home. And that means I kind of have a vested interest in our community and the well-being of this county. I just wanted to thank you again for allowing us to come and speak.
I am Lori Cowan, and I am currently your District 2 Supervisor. I've been in the seat for about 3 years now, just over, and I sit on many, many boards and committees and work on many projects. I'm going to talk about a few that pertain to or in the forefront of all of our minds. I've worked very hard on last chance grade over the last 3 years. I not only have gone before the California Transportation Commission, but I've walked the grade with them. I've met with DOT at the federal level, and I've had many, many meetings with federal highways, both at state and federal levels. It's very important to keep our voice and let them know what's going on. I think one of the most phenomenal things was last fall when I was in Washington, D.C., 3 of the meetings around last chance grade we walked into. They not only knew where Delaware County was, they knew last chance grade. That is what we need to do, is keep it in front of them. Over the last 20 or 30 years, we've spent close to $80 million to keep the road in place. I am happy to say now we have funds, over $50 million, to look at an alternate route. And we have been. I sit on the Congressman Huffman's stakeholders group. We meet quarterly. We were just all together last week to go over everything last chance grade on the alternate routes on the backside. I've walked the backside. I've gone over value assessments, risk assessments. We're now doing geotechnical. That's something I'm very, very proud of. The other thing was bringing together Center Coast Hospital and CR to bring back the RN program to Delaware County. And I am so happy to say that it is not only back in Delaware County, classes started last month. That's huge. That's talking about our youth. That's being able to educate people, to give them jobs so they can come back here and live and raise their families. So there's many, many other things that I've worked on. But those are just a few, and that's why I am running for re-election, so we can just keep things moving forward.
I'd like to jump in real quick before you start. You may have noticed that the mic is going out a little bit. Put it closer to your mouth, and it shouldn't go out. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Jim Ramsey. I am running also for 2nd District Supervisor. I would like to thank everyone who has come in here today and to find out about the opinions that we've all got going. The big issue with me, and I would like to thank True North in particular for hosting it. The big issue with me you're going to hear about a lot through anything that I talk about is going to be partnerships. We have a number of partnerships happening in different situations. For example, in the homeless situation, there is whole community partnerships. That's the type of partnerships that we are going to do. Those are the things that I have worked on as I've been on the Harbor Commission, and those are things that I would like to see happen so that we get things done. Because every one of these issues that are before us need partnerships from the community. It is not something that somebody can go, oh my goodness, I got the idea, because it comes from everybody. We're like a village. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to keep going. Hey, my big thing is I taught here in kindergarten and 3rd grade for basically 23 years. I've learned to listen and to fish for answers in the kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade situation. And that's my commitment to the future of this county. I came here in 1995, 1996, and I've been here ever since. I've been 12 years as a Harbor Commissioner. We're back in the black for the first time in ages, so we need to take a look at that. Our solar project is going to be finished in June. We've got several business opportunities coming up. We've got Measure C money coming in, all of which I've been part of. I formed a 501c3 for a charity, which gets us money for people. And basically, we're in an $8 million situation. With that, I'm just going to sit there and say this before I get cut off. Government should serve the people and not the other way around.
Good evening. Thank you, True North, for hosting this forum, but also for all that you do for our community and raising the awareness. Thank you to all of you who came out tonight. I am Valerie Starkey, and I would like to be your next District 2 Supervisor. If you're sitting in this church tonight, it means you want answers. You're here on your own time because you care about this community, and you're wanting to see if I care about it as much as you do. You want to make sure I'll bring real solutions with me to the office, not just bandages. You may even want to know what characteristics I have that set me aside from my opponents. Folks, our community has challenges and opportunities. And a necessary solution to our challenges and our opportunities is leadership. Leadership is not complicated. You lead, you follow, or you get out of the way. In my experience, leaders are not afraid to ask why. They're not afraid to ask why not. They solve problems. They lead by example. They know when to listen and when to follow. Leaders work well with others to accomplish goals. And when they are not afraid to say, I don't know, let me find out and I'll get back to you. And real leaders get back to you. Leaders have a vision. We want to know what the future is going to look like. During an interview with Wayne Gretzky, a reporter asked him, what makes a good hockey player? Gretzky answered, a good hockey player goes to where the puck is. A great hockey player goes to where the puck is going to be. I believe a great supervisor needs to ask where is our puck going to be in the next 10 to 20 years so that we can anticipate the needs of our community.
Well, I want to thank True North for organizing this important event. I'm Bob Berkowitz. 4 years ago, when I ran for supervisor, I made 3 commitments to you. First, that I would work with the board to kickstart the bypass for last chance grade, which had no commitment from any state or federal government for the last 50 years. Secondly, to work to mitigate many of the blighted areas in this county and make them beautiful again. And thirdly, to make your supervisor accessible to everyone whenever members of the public wanted to meet, and not just at that 3 minutes you get when you're allowed to do that at the Board of Supervisors meetings. So what's happened in the last 3 years? Our board went to Washington, D.C. and Sacramento, laid out the case for getting a bypass for last chance grade, and we worked with Kurt Strimberg, former Supervisor Blackburn, and the rest of the board, and came back with $50 million to kickstart the bypass. And now we're on our way. When I found out that the board had, or the county had no dedicated fund to clean up many of the blighted areas, I started to work with Supervisor Gitlin and the volunteers. We got our hands dirty. We worked with the cleanups by ourselves. We convinced the rest of the board that a dedicated source of cleanup funds was necessary. And now we have those funds for more cleanups. And lastly, I established the daily town hall meeting. Now you can meet with a supervisor any day of the week, at any time, to discuss an issue or just listen to what others have to say. It's your choice. You control the destiny of this county.
Hi, I'm Kevin Hendrick. I am not a career politician. I've spent most of my life as a public servant working for nonprofits and government agencies. 20 years I worked as the director of the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority when I effectively collaborated with county supervisors and city council members. In this job, I worked with politicians across the political spectrum. Since retirement, I worked as a management consultant, including 4 years as a project manager for a solar energy company. I currently work as a program officer for the Rose Foundation, managing a multi-million-dollar grant portfolio funding watershed protection projects. This is experience that I bring as a county supervisor. People are tired of partisan bickering that polarizes and disrupts our Board of Supervisors from making progress on our local needs. It's time for a change. It's time to put people over politics. I will do this by working with our elected officials and local groups to provide affordable housing, quality health care for all, reliable high-speed internet, living wage jobs, free community college and vocational education, early childhood development, and quality affordable child care. I have strong, positive relationships with our federal, state, and local elected officials. I have been endorsed by State Senator Mike McGuire and Congressman Jared Huffman. Today, I was endorsed by the Elk Valley Rancheria. Having good relationships and being able to work with our elected officials is important for Del Norte County to get the resources and representation that we need. I thank you all for coming, and please remember to vote.
Thank you, each of you, for your opening statements. Now we will move on to our prepared questions for the night. Each person asking a question will give a brief background on the question topic and then ask their question. So the first question centers around economic development, and I'd like to invite Jan Wortman to come forward.
Good evening. I include Jan Wortman. My name is Jan Wortman. I'm a Yurok tribal member who owns a business located on the Yurok Reservation, the Requa Inn, which is located on Requa Hill, a place that my maternal grandmother came from the House of Leyu. My family has lived on this hill since time began, and now I live and work on this hill. Just to note, this is the first time in 160 years that this property has been owned by a Yurok tribal member. So, but back to the question. My annual payroll is almost $250,000, and each year I send over $49,000 to the county's general fund from bed tax. Our business also donates over $10,000 that I give to local charities and schools. My small business contributes to this county. I also match 3% of my staff's salary to a retirement plan because I believe in the future of this county and of the future of my employees. As many people know, Del Norte County is one of the 14 poorest counties in the state of California. We have a poverty rate of 24%. That's for a family of 4 making less than $24,900 a year. The median income is $40,000. According to a U.S. report published in 2012 entitled Rural Wealth Creation, entrepreneurial small businesses are more innovative and have more potential growth opportunities, and small business owners that live locally in their communities mean that more profits are retained locally. In other words, investing in small businesses is a vital economic development strategy. On a local level, the Del Norte County Comprehensive Economic Development Strategic Plan, holy cow, that's a name, for 2019-2024 states in its vision and goal section that goal 6 is to create a thriving small business environment which fosters entrepreneurship and innovation. So now to the question. How would you, as a county supervisor, create a thriving small business development plan across Del Norte County, but specifically in the district that you represent?
So tonight we're going to hear first from Jim.
Well, thank you very much for the question. Again, working with partners and so forth, we need to take a look at the areas that are involved in District 2. When you take a look at District 2, you see that there are a number of buildings that are empty, that have a situation which falls right into small business entrepreneurship. Basically, you've got to talk about focusing. One of the things that I would like to do is focus on tourism, because we're coming off a year in which we've had a great year in tourism for the most part, but we do need to come in a situation, how do we keep that tourism rolling? For example, if you have a business that is open in the early time and during tourism season, they do really well, but as soon as the people leave the area, that business usually goes under. Okay, so basically what you're wanting to do is I would focus on partnerships and apprenticeships and, okay, thank you.
Next is Valerie.
So what's cool and exciting for me is there is already a comprehensive economic development strategy that's been approved, and the strategy is about to be deployed. So there's an existing plan that allows me to jump in and just get to work. See, I'm an implementer. I do the work, I get things done. So this plan that's been reviewed, consulted upon, and improved is ready to go. Another thing I would like to see happen is a liaison to provide consistency to all the agencies whose common denominator is encouraging economic growth. Agencies such as the Chamber, Small Business Center, the Tri-Agency, and the cities and the county. Let's all get on the same page, and when you streamline the process, you're going to get more consistent results. I would also encourage a mentoring program so that new businesses have a supportive resource to help guide them during their first 2 years of business. And I have to stop.
I have more. And Lori.
I've been part of the Visitors Bureau for the last 3 years, and we are pushing tourism and working on that together with partnerships with the city. Business in District 2, there's not a lot. Jim talks about empty buildings. I think you're thinking more in District 1. But I can talk about one business opportunity that I totally support in District 2, and that's out of the airport. We, this past summer, when we doubled up on flights, we had a food truck out there, and it's something that was part of that decision, and definitely looking forward to the upcoming season and getting more food trucks out there. I am a small business owner, and it is tough. This is one of the hardest towns to do business in. So part of the tourism part for me is not just to have that summer tourism and have it die off in the winter, but to continue it year-round so our businesses will thrive. Thank you.
And we will move on to Kevin.
The first thing we can do to support small business development is to consider the impacts on local businesses before we invite large box stores, which compete with our local business. As consumers, we should shop local and support our local business with our patronage. I shop at Del Norte Office Supply for my campaign supplies. I buy my food at Safeway over Walmart because it is a union shop which pays a higher wage with benefits. Specific to my district, the lack of available high-speed internet hobbles businesses in Klamath. We need to expand reliable internet in Klamath to support tourism and other businesses. Small businesses in Klamath would benefit greatly from a better collaboration between the Klamath Chamber of Commerce and the Crescent City Chamber of Commerce, which has a much larger budget. It's important that we understand that building a more robust economy in Klamath is good for the rest of Del Norte County. We are all in this together.
For the last 40 years, I've been a member of the Del Norte Chamber of Commerce. For the last 3 years, I've been on the board of directors for both the Del Norte County Chamber of Commerce and as a member of the Klamath Chamber of Commerce. Both of these organizations are deeply involved in bringing the next tourist to our area. That's why the county has supported the concept of making sure that tourist dollars are invested in promoting our county by bringing NBC to our area to promote our Japanese connection during the Summer Olympics. So, Delaware County's Chamber of Commerce, Klamath Chamber of Commerce, well, they've developed a new website so that other people in the entire world can come here knowing a little bit about our county. So, for the last 3 years, we've made progress in making Delaware County and Klamath a destination.
As a city councilman, I guess I'll start with, I've always been an advocate for deregulation or making the permitting process easier. As a city councilman, I exuded that philosophy all the time. And as a supervisor, I do the same thing. But in answer to the question, what would I do specifically to encourage this, is I would bring together stakeholders to look at downtown, which is the big part of District 1, and explore the concept of enterprise zones or opportunity zones to encourage business development in that area.
Last week I wrote a letter to Jerry Hemmingson, he's chairman of the Board of Supervisors, asking him to have staff reach out to the TerraGen Corporation. They build wind farms. They wanted to put one in Humboldt County. 300 living wage jobs. They turned it down. I said, let's have them come here. Let's see if it would fit here in Del Norte County. It might not, but at least we've made the effort. And we're right, we do not need another box store paying minimum wage in our community. We need clean industries. And that means, if that means offering some incentives to bring them in, you have 15 living wage jobs, we're gonna give you a break. It's gonna last for a couple years, and you're gonna be back on your own 2 feet. Regarding the deserted storefronts downtown Crescent City, which is District 1, we have to meet with the people that own those and say, what can we do to help you? Let's ask the questions and see if we can find some answers.
Thank you. Our second question comes under housing and homelessness issues, and I'd like to invite Wanda Wilder forward.
Good evening. My name is Wanda Wilder. In 1976, as a small child, my family and I moved to Del Norte County, where I have remained my entire life, including the raising of my 2 children. But last year, at around this time and temperature, due to dilapidated water pipes in my rental home of over 20 years failing, and the failing economy that couldn't afford my landlord to make the necessary repairs, I found myself for the first time in my life without housing, struggling to find a place warm and safe enough to lay my head, while trying not to impose on family and friends or taxing the system. You may know that Del Norte County has 1 emergency shelter with only 13 beds, but are currently working with the county to expand that to 52 beds. The point-in-time count of our homeless population in 2019, of which I am one of, was 189, but many of us know that more people than that struggle with staying housed in this community. Even though many unhoused people receive various county services and are able to benefit from the rapid rehousing program, they're still many times not able to remain housed because of their individual situations, require more extensive case management. The reasons people lack housing are diverse and varied, and all of these people have a story. I would encourage each of you to hear that story when you can. It was mentioned earlier, but in the fall of 2018, at the very time I found myself without housing, the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution to end homelessness in Del Norte County. It has been an entire exhausting year now. So I ask, in keeping with that resolution, what will you do as a county supervisor to end homelessness in Del Norte County?
For the last 3 years, all of the members of the Board of Supervisors have been involved in working to combat homelessness in our county. One of the areas of concentration was to get those who are living on the streets and suffer from mental illness into some kind of shelter where they can be supervised and not be a danger to themselves. We've been successful in getting state funds that can help us alleviate this problem. Now I would like to expand our daily bread from a part-time facility to a full-time 24-hour shelter so that they can have more capacity to care for all of our homeless and get them off the streets, get them into social services so that they desperately need.
One of my top priorities is to develop more affordable housing. Some people are homeless simply because they can't afford to pay rent. Banning homeless people sleeping in their cars and rousting people from homeless camps does very little to solve the problem. They just move their vehicle to another street and move their camp to a new location. I support the effort that has been started by Mission Possible to provide an expanded emergency shelter. I endorse the effort by True North to develop a Hope Village where tiny houses can provide short-term housing, allowing people to transition to more stable long-term housing. Both of these projects include wraparound services to provide mental health and substance abuse counseling to help people stabilize their lives and get back on their feet. I support reduced fees and simplified permitting for auxiliary housing units that can be built on existing properties. I call these backyard cottages. All these programs require very little government involvement and bring us a long way to solving the problems with homelessness and affordable housing.
Thanks, Mike. First off, it's not the homeless issue, it's the homeless issues. It's a multitude of issues. California has 30% of the homeless population in the country is right here. We have to give law enforcement better tools so they can take on the property crime epidemic we have, the illegal squatting, and the lewd public acts. That being said, being homeless does not make you a criminal. There's 150 students, according to the Del Norte County Unified School District, that are considered homeless, either living in cars with their parents, living in cars by themselves, or they're sofa surfing. We can do better than that. The woman escaping a domestic violence situation living in Harrington House, she's not a criminal. The veteran who has seen things none of us, well, most of us don't even want to think about, they are not criminals. Senator McGuire and Assemblyman Wood are working to bring money here to help solve the problem. And we have to work with public and private agencies because together we're better.
Homelessness is a multifaceted problem. I'm on the Hope Village track as well. Very impressed with this program that's going on in Medford right now. Grants Pass is getting a Hope Village this year. It's a proven program, and I believe that we can achieve that in our community. It's for those of you who are not familiar, it's a track for people who are homeless to move to temporary housing and then on to permanent housing. It's a very successful program. I know we can achieve that in our community, and I'll work to bring the stakeholders together when I'm the supervisor. I know of one landowner in the city who's willing to donate land for this cause, and I would like to see that come to fruition.
Okay. All right, homelessness. This is one of the areas where you do need your partnerships. And you can see it working regularly with everything that's just been said. You've got a situation where, for the first time, there's money coming into the area to help finance it. You've had Daphne, who's been working with a super board and getting grant writers over at Daily Bread, work miracles on getting things going and getting stuff happening. There's been a lot of real positive things that takes all different kinds of people. As a supervisor, I would support every inch of those moments. One of the things that people may not have known is that when Daily Bread first came to this area, it started on my front lawn 14 years ago. I was the first group of people that they bumped into, and I have been working with them in support ever since. So showing an interest, I really commend St. Paul's for the showers situation that they come up with, and the Senior Center for helping. And just, you can see that this is a great group, and that's what it takes to make these things run, and I would be definitely supportive of that as it goes.
For the last 3 years since I became a supervisor, actually before that I've been working on homelessness. First with Senator McGuire with No Place Like Home, which is for chronically homeless, mentally ill, and that is working, but it's state funds and it's taken way too long. The past year, Daphne, raise your hand. I work with Daphne, I bug her, I think weekly, and she is a part of why we're bringing, taking the temporary housing, or temporary shelter to 24-hour shelter. Things that have happened over there already this year is we have mental health advocates there from DHHS twice a week. They're doing meals, food, AOD. People talk about a staging area. We're working on it. We've been working closely, or she's been working closely with the county so that we can get that building up to snuff, so it will be a 24-hour shelter. If I have it my way, it'll be done by June. I was just talking to actually the senators about 2 hours ago, talking about some funding that's coming down. There is funding coming down, and we are working really hard right now to get that funding to make these things happen. There's so much going on with homelessness. If you want to know, if you want to get involved, ask me after the meeting.
So I'm a big believer of the Housing First model, and that is moving long-term homeless individuals who have mental health or substance abuse issues into housing, subsidized housing, and then linking them with supportive services, either on site or in the community, and then implement a complete wraparound services to address their needs. We do need to get away from a one-size-fits-all approach and spend time on the front end identifying the reason for their particular homelessness. How we respond to somebody who lost their job should and will be different than someone who has severe untreated mental health. The homeless often, not always, but they resist the services because they're not trusting of our system. We need to begin developing rapport and trust with them so that we can match services with the specific needs and begin to get them healthy. When you hear names like Daphne Lambert and Tamara Layton working on a project, you can be confident they will see it to fruition. I had a little bit more to it.
Our third question tonight is under the umbrella of mental health, and I'd like to invite Patricia Black to come forward.
Hi, I'm Patricia Black, and I'm a True North leader. A mental health question is difficult to ask because those who would give a testimony are one of the most vulnerable members of our community. That's why I'm here. I don't presume to speak for them, but to encourage all of you as you go out in the community and talk to the people that you're asking to vote for you, I'm asking you to ask them for their stories. I myself have heard many, many stories, but most of them are protected by HIPAA, and I would be the last person to violate that. But as I tell you the story that I am free to tell, I hope you'll hear the pain that I carry in my heart of all the stories that I've heard. But first, a memory. When I first came here 30 years ago, I worked in the Social Security office down on 3rd Street. Time ago. And when we saw someone who was struggling with mental health issues, we picked up the phone and called mental health. And Ben showed up, and he sat down on the sidewalk with that person, and the next thing we knew, they were in day treatment, and they were getting food, and they were getting medication, and they were getting things to do during their day. Harley Munger had this amazing ceramics program, right? So, also at that time, mental health was available to the whole community. If you were going through a divorce, if you had lost someone you loved, if there was a crisis in your life, you could go in and see a mental health counselor and get some counseling and then get referred out into the community. It was a true community resource. This might be a slightly idealized memory, but it truly is the memory I have. So now I'll share with you the current experience of a family whose adult child suffers from severe mental illness. They live in their own apartment in subsidized housing, thank heavens. But as this spiral comes around, as this person starts to hear the voices take over again, as they quit paying their bills, as they believe they're getting phone calls from the president, the family knows things are only going to get worse. And so they call mental health and they say, what can we do now before it gets so bad? And the answer is, we'll bring them into the office. Well, can you take them to the hospital? That's not easy. Sometimes that's not even possible. So how about call the police? Ask for a welfare check. There is so much fear. Because even though the police have been kind and helpful, and I do want to give them credit for that, there's always the fear. We all know the stories, including the ones here in Del Norte County, of people where the family has called law enforcement and the person has wound up dead. So, the line I missed was, officers untrained in dealing with mental health issues. That's kind of a hint. So they're told, wait until things get really bad. How bad does it have to get? So my question is, what is your vision for mental health in Del Norte County? And the official question is, what would you do as a county supervisor to increase mental health services in Del Norte County?
Currently, at the Department of Health and Human Services, there are many vacant positions in the mental health area. It's a detriment to our community to have that. Specifically, what I was going to talk about is our children that are in the foster care system. These kids are receiving mental health care through a television, telemedicine kind of idea, and that's not optimal for them. So what I will do is work with the director of DHHS to find a way to incentivize these mental health professionals so we can fill those positions and give our children and our whole community better mental health care.
Last year, Del Norte County spent more than $160,000 just on the transportation of mental health patients in acute crisis. They're going to Yuba City and Redding and Red Bluff and Sacramento and Santa Rosa and the Bay Area. Heather Snow, head of Health and Human Services, has worked with Center Coast Hospital, try to create a acute care center here. Hasn't penciled out yet. But Heather is working with Sheriff Apperson to create a facility in the jail that would allow us to keep these patients here in town a little bit more and at a reduced cost. Less cost, better treatment. Specifically to answer the question, I'm going to support Heather in her efforts to reduce cost and increase services. I would encourage the county, Center Coast Hospital, and the Del Norte Healthcare District to all come together to see if we can put an acute crisis facility here in our community, save money, and have better care for the mentally ill.
As one of the board members for our mental health board, John just talked about it. We're putting in, at this moment, it was all approved, a facility over at the jail. We did try to do something with Sutter and it didn't pencil out, but with this, we still will be reaching that whole population. So that should be done. I mean, the funding's been gone through and we're hoping that the facility will be done by the end of the year and they'll be getting psychiatric care in the facility. The other thing I briefly touched on and is working, I wish Gloria was here, I didn't see her come in, but Gloria is the one that from DHHS that is at Del Norte Mission Possible twice a week. So we're going to the streets, we're going to the people to give them services, to get them help, and that's something that we got started this summer. Another thing I'm very proud of to be a part of, being able to go out and get the people where they're at. The other thing with foster youth, another part of mine, closer connections. That's everything that comes out of the Mental Health Care Act and what we do with those kids in that program.
month in Del Norte County, I've heard of 3 residents who have committed suicide. And that's just 3 too many. In conversations with the county mental health department, I learned that they're working on a few options. One is a diversion program for the PC 1000 for low-level offenders who've committed an offense that directly correlates to their mental health. Now, as a probation officer, I managed diversion programs for years, and it's an effective way to deliver early services and education to people suffering mental illness. In fact, diversion programs could even stretch to include substance abuse and anger management. Another idea was to bring in organizations with educational awareness to help reduce the stigmatism of getting mental health treatment. We've got to make sure that the people that are suffering from these severe mental healths, like the one that you talked about, know that getting treatment is something extremely important.
One of the things that I would like to see happening in this area is the fact that we take a look at a sponsorship, basically working with people, and one of the categories that could be used is counselors. We need to have counselors in the area and more counselors, as Pat was talking about. One of the ways that you can do that is the same way that I went out and got my psych tech license. The state gave me payment for a 60% paycheck while I went to school and then worked in the evening on a psych unit. Then what happened is I came out and took the test, passed. I had to go work for a 2-year commitment. Now, one of the things that I would like to see happening is some way that we set up those things and bring counselors into our areas, both in the school and both in the community. Comes out to the situation that after you get you're done your stuff, and after you get your license, that you work for a certain amount of time, and you get to keep maybe some of your student deferments out. So that way you're working on all that at that time.
First thing we need to do is reduce the stigma for people who are seeking mental health services. We must stop criminalizing substance use disorders and address these as treatable health issues. We should rely on the advice of the County Department of Health and Human Services, which has identified community issues related to mental health illness resulting from the lack of services, analyzed our mental health needs, and identified priorities and strategies to meet those mental health needs. This can be best achieved through collaborative efforts with the Department of Health and Social and Human Services, Sutter Coast, Open Door Clinic, United Indian Health Services, and others. One way to meet this is to create a homegrown workforce by training people locally to add to the existing pool of service providers. And we must aggressively pursue sources of state and federal funding. Finally, we must recognize that mental health is greatly improved when we can assure that all people are provided basic needs of housing, food, and safety.
In California, we have 32 hospitals licensed as freestanding acute psychiatric hospitals, which provide care only to individuals with acute behavioral needs. But none of these facilities is in Del Norte County. This means we have to transport our people in need of services hundreds of miles away at a cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars each year, as John Pritchett alluded to earlier. This is not good enough. Jail is not the answer. We need to be able to treat these citizens with the care and attention that they need at a facility close to where they live. And that's why I want to state that have the state treat their needs as a priority and provide a facility closer or in Del Norte County, but not just in the jail.
Thank you. And now we are coming to our audience question, those cards that we collected. So we collected them, synthesized them, and figured out which one was the most common question. And I'd like to invite Annabelle Dominguez to come forward.
Buenas tardes, good evening. My name is Annabelle Dominguez, as you just said. I'm a True North board member, and yes, I will be asking the question that came from the audience. So what will you do to encourage out-of-towners to stay and invest in our community? Thinking of our young families or single people who came to work and don't stay. This was posed by Sarah Elston, a Del Norte teacher.
We will go first to Valerie.
Well, one of the most exciting things that we have here in Del Norte County is our absolute pristine coastline and our area, our fresh air. I don't know if many of you got a chance to see the HGTV video that they put together, I think in a week. That just encompasses everything that this county and this town has to offer. So in order to encourage people to come stay here and live here, we need to make sure that we include them, that they're all feeling part of our family. Because if you're in the 95531, we're all part of each other. And we should all then reach out and make sure that we are including all the other individuals who come to see us and visit. I have a great time whenever I go down to the beach, talking with families and telling them different things that can be done around here. So it's about us working together and sharing the great place that we live.
Well, with Del Norte County, you have got a lot of situations that you can see. And you do need to take a look at having people come in, take a look at, once they're here, take a look at, send them to places to eat, send them to places, things to do. There's a number of things that can be happening. You've got plenty of pristine hiking trails. You've got a number of issues that you can deal with that way. But the basic thing is having good mapping and good custom service coming out from your like the Visitors Bureau and those kinds of places that give you lists of things to do. Give people here. Have them stay. Have them take a look at some of the things to do, because there are a number of things that need to be happening. Other than that, that's about what I have to say at this point. Thank you.
I'm not sure if I understood the question. If it was visitors to keep them or people to come and live. So I'm going to get both of them. So as a business owner, we train all our employees to talk about everything that's great in Del Norte County. I don't care if it's hiking trails, surfing, whatever it is, other restaurants, other things to do. We always talk about how we keep them there. And I've been, like I said, part of the Visitors Bureau in hiring a company to market our area, to get people here and then to keep them here. As a realtor, of course, we want them to buy houses and stay here. I do a lot of community tours for Center Coast Hospital when I have time, because they feel I know the community. And I'm able to take around these doctors or potential workers at the hospital and show them what our county's all about. And I get to go on these tours and make them fall in love with our place and make them want to come and accept jobs here.
You know, my job, one of the jobs that I had, is the owner of KCRA. Owned that for 11 years. One of the things that we did was promote our area. That was our number one job, was promoting our area. So how can we do that effectively? Well, one of the things that I did while I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce, our director, is saying, hey, we need to make our promotions as effective as we can. And one of those things was sponsor the weather over in Reading. The weather? Well, yeah, because what you can say is, hey, it's 101 degrees here, and it's 69 degrees in Crescent City. Those are the kinds of things that resonate to people and bring them over here. We need to be creative. And what we need to do is be able to tell our story to a tourist when they get here.
Could you repeat the question?
So what will you do to encourage out-of-towners to stay and invest in our community? Thinking of our young families or single people who come to work and don't stay.
Right. Well, I think to start with, we need to develop a more civil discourse in our government. I've heard stories of doctors moving here and watching the hospital fight with the healthcare district and decide, nope, I don't want to be here.
Yep.
I'm going to leave. I've seen good people, good professional people come and work in the economic development field, and they get frustrated and they leave because they just don't see the cooperation to make progress. People will move here, and I've learned in my research, especially related to climate change, that there will be climate refugees moving here. People that live in areas that have become too hot for them to bear. As Bob said, they're going to come to the cool coast because this is a nicer place to live. There's people whose houses have burned. They're going to move here. We need to plan for that immigration, and we need to have housing and services and jobs for those people when they come here.
Thank you, Mike. First off, a fully funded Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center. That's our front door, that's our welcome mat. We need to make sure that they're reaching out to everybody possible. Second, and that is we need to make sure as the Board of Supervisors, we need to make sure that Redwood National and State Parks and the Smith River National Recreation Area is doing their jobs to make sure they're getting the word out to the western part of the United States that this is a great place to come and visit. I want to give kudos to the city of Crescent City. They've done a great job. The new signs that are up look great. You guys have done a fabulous job of drawing attention to Crescent City. Those people driving through, seeing a sign that looks really great, and saying, wow, let's go check out this lighthouse, which is the undiscovered jewel of the West Coast, and we have done a terrible job of letting America know, come see this amazing place. We just need to do a better job of saying, come see us.
Thank you, John. We designed those signs while I was on the planning commission. I believe that we need to work with this group that the Visitors Bureau has hired. The visitors come and they stay in our hotels, and we've got them. We know where they are. We need to ask them questions. Find out why they're here. Where did they hear about us? And capitalize on those sources of information. We need to celebrate what this town, what this area has, and that's that there's no malls. And we have tremendous outdoor opportunity. And we all know the wonderful opportunity of being in the cool during the summer, but able to go jump in the river and then just over the hill. That's what we need to capitalize on.
Our last question tonight comes under the category of youth opportunities, and I'd like to invite Amber Jensaw to come forward.
Hi, my name is Amber Jensaw. I am a longtime resident of Delaware County. I'm from Klamath, and that's where my family roots are, and I'm from the village of Requa. I've grown up here my whole life. I've just recently ventured out up to Brookings. But being a youth, I know that there is some struggle finding things to do. And for me, I would just like to say that I was really thankful that I had my culture as such a strong backing, and my parents who encouraged me to do all that I could whenever I could. So with that, I'm going to give a little background on the situation, and then I'm going to go into the question. So it says, young people here experience a lot of boredom that can often lead to trouble. But simply being bored isn't really the problem. It's what young people have an opportunity to engage with in this community that often is the real problem. Living here is really difficult for some of us. Many young people grow up in an environment of hopelessness. Stable and safe housing can be difficult to find. Many of us are food insecure, drugs are too accessible, and young people come into contact with the judicial system starting in middle school and sometimes even younger. The youth
in this community need more opportunities to get involved in face-to-face community activities. We need more job opportunities. We need to have our hope for our futures. Keeping all of this in mind, my question to you is, as a county supervisor, what would be your vision for the youth in our community? Please include any concrete opportunities or ideas that you have for them.
Our youth should be granted access to a good education and vocational training to better prepare them for employment. Young people in our community need jobs. To make long-term progress on this, education needs to start at an early age. I support the expansion of early childhood education and affordable childcare that includes education component. We should encourage our youth to take advantage of the tuition-free opportunity to attend the College of the Redwoods to continue their education. Because everyone is not bound for a university degree, we need to have more opportunities for vocational education where they can learn a trade. In order to meet these goals, we need to continue to fund and support existing organizations that have made this their mission, including the Del Norte Child Care Council, First 5 Del Norte, and Building Healthy Communities. Finally, we need to develop affordable housing for our young people who are homeless or cannot afford to find a decent place to live.
Much of my district includes the area of Klamath. Early in my tenure, I met with Klamath residents and members of the Yurok tribe. They were concerned that the county was neglecting recreational areas in Klamath. I began to work with the members of the tribe, and eventually we were able to turn over the ball field to the tribe because they had more opportunity to get federal and state grants to improve that area. Today, I'm working with tribal member Ryan Ray, to do the same thing for Hunter Creek recreational area. The tribe is storing recreational items like swings, slides for all of the kids. We expect to reach that agreement soon. We desperately need more recreational areas or recreational items like these for our kids in the Klamath area.
When I graduated high school, I was going to go learn a trade, and when I left town, I was like the typical guy leaving town is break the rearview mirror off because I'm never coming back kind of guy. With marrying my wife and getting a little maturity and a little bit of broadening my horizons, I moved back home because we all know that this is a wonderful place to live. But since that time, we've lost some opportunities at the high school, and that is with vocations. So my dream for our youth here would be the ability to get a comprehensive education. That would be through medical pathways, vocations, and other educational opportunities like that.
Del Norte County's Recreation Department serves about 800 kids, youngsters, and about 500 adults every year. They do that with 2 full-time people, 2. They do a great job, but there's just a pair of them, plus some part-time help. I've had conversations with Kelsey Bozeman, and what she wants to see, and I support 100%, is more opportunities for young people, more programs, after-school programs, places where young people can go, if nothing else, just a safe place to do your homework. Now, how do you pay for that? That's the question. I have a vision, Bob, you talked about it, I believe, where we have an event every weekend in Del Norte County. Softball tournament, soccer tournament, basketball tournament, cribbage, whatever. And we tell the people over in Sacramento and Redding and Medford and Grants Pass and Roseburg, it's 60 degrees here. Bring a sweatshirt, come have a lot of fun. And oh yeah, by the way, bring some money because you're going to want to spend it at all the great places we have in our community.
The community is not a community unless we get all of our members engaged. So I'm a CASA, and I want to continue making sure that we take care of the most vulnerable at-risk kids that we have in this community. We need to build a better outreach program for our homeless teenagers, build a partnership with the school district so that services, something as simple as washing your clothes, can be done to encourage them to stay into school. I want to focus our budget on investing in early childhood education. I want to partner with the College of the Redwoods to come up with more certificate programs so that our graduates can attend school and get a skill to earn a living wage. I have a specific program I would like to begin, modeled after Tomorrow's Leaders Today, a program I worked on in Sonoma County. And it is about introducing young high school kids into all the various aspects in our community, government, law enforcement, and my time is up.
Thank you very much. Basically, I really am interested in early childhood education and daycare at the situation, because we need to have the ability where it's free or minimal cost so that you can have two families working at whatever jobs they have. My wife works at 2 jobs. It'd be nice to have 1 job. But anyway, the other thing that we have to take a look at is things like, if you remember the Stockade pizza place, if you went in there on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, that place was packed. We need to have something like that for the kids in this area at this particular time. We have a place right on the corner of the S Street. We've got that big building is sitting there, and it's all decorated, written inside for something like that. So we need to take a look at that. Furthermore, there's also, it would be great to put the upstairs section as some place where you could go to a coffee house situation, have an open mic, and those kinds of things. So there are objects and things that can be done.
Youth is my heart. I've raised 4 children here, and yes, if we don't keep them busy, idle hands. I completely support and work with Kelsey Bozeman over at the rec department. She's done a fabulous job with the basketball. Rec is going right now. I sponsor teams, my husband and I, as our grandson plays. She does a phenomenal job with the summer program camp that's going on. It's new, it's growing. I want to help her grow that. And most importantly, my husband and I do a summer surf camp for children during the summertime that is growing and growing and growing. And it's just a great way to get the kids involved, keep them active, keep them healthy, keep them outdoors. It's just very, very important to keep the kids going here. It's just very, you talked about it. If we don't keep them busy, then they just get into trouble. And I'm a strong believer in keeping our kids active and supporting any program that does that.
Thank you so much, all of the candidates. We now have the time to hear 1 minute from each of the candidates, their closing statements. And after that is over, I want to let y'all know we are not quite finished after the last closing statement, so hang tight so that we can wrap up the rest of the evening.
Is it me?
It is you.
Wow. Well, thanks for everybody coming out tonight. For the last few years, I have worked my tail off in this county. I love this county. People ask me why I do it. I do it for my kids. I do it for your kids. I do it for the families. If you don't get involved, you can't complain. I was told that early on. So I love what I do. I want to continue what I do. There's a lot of good things going on. There's a lot of great things that I've been a part of. Relationships, partnerships, you've heard it before. That is what we're all about. I have never seen the city and the county work so well together. When I got here 17 years ago, it was not like that. Today, we work hand in hand with the tribes, with the city, with the county, all of us. I would like to be your supervisor again in the next upcoming 4 years. I am Lord Cowan, and I am running for District 2.
So in my 30-year career, I learned that as long as I was willing to listen, could assume the best in people and not the worst. I was able to get to the core of what they really wanted changed. When I'm elected into this position, it can't just be about me and about what I want. It must be about our vision for Del Norte County. That's going to include our tribes, our youth, our elderly, and even our mentally ill. It must be about us and our vision for a better Del Norte County. We can do this together. How can we contribute and be responsible for what our community will look like? Now, it's going to take hard work, and I'm going to ask your time, I'm going to ask for your energy, and I'm going to rely on you to push me forward when I'm doing things right, and to speak up for when I get it wrong. I envision us working together. So if you're up for the challenge, I'd like you to vote for me on March 3rd, 2020, as for to be your next District 2 Supervisor.
Once again, thank you all for coming out. I want to say this in the final thing, is that I'm not necessarily a better person than any of these people up here, but I'm a different person. I've had, and the way that I've done that is that I have walked in every shoe, every amount of shoes that these people, that all the questions we've had has talked about. I've lived in a communal situation looking for affordable housing. Anybody in college has. I've worked long hours with not enough wages to get money. As a psychiatric technician, I worked basically seeing the highs and lows of the medical field. And actually, the last thing, from 1970 to 1973, I was homeless. And so therefore, what I've learned is to live, I have become adaptable, and I try to live my life as St. Paul said. I praise the Lord when I have little, for he will provide. And I am glad when I have lots, because I know the Lord will give me things and people to serve. Thank you very much for your time, and vote for me.
When I was first elected, I asked my folks like you, I said, what is the most important thing to you? The top priority for them was to make sure that I did not forget them for the next 4 years, and not just contact them when I'm running for re-election. That's why for each year, I've sent those who live in the 5th District an end-of-the-year report about what the board has done. I've sent refrigerator magnets with emergency phone numbers, told you about prescription drug rip-offs, and many other pieces of useful information at no cost to the county. Thank you for allowing me to serve you for the past 3 years, and I hope you will allow me to serve you for the next 4 years. I'm Bob Berkowitz, and I'm asking for your vote.
Too often people think that government is about politics. It is not. The purpose of government is to provide the needs of the people in the county. It is understandable that an incumbent supervisor would want to take credit for all the good things that have happened in the county. Most successes are a collaborative effort with other supervisors, county staff, and other agencies. But at the same time, it's fair to hold an incumbent supervisor responsible for all the things that are not working. This includes the growing problem with homelessness, mental health issues, substance abuse, poverty, and high rates of unemployment. These are issues that I will make a priority as your next supervisor. I love Del Norte County, and I want to give back to this community that has been so good to me and my family. We are a tight-knit community, and we care about each other. When we work together, there's nothing that we cannot accomplish. But it is time for a change. It's time to put people over politics. Please vote for me for your next supervisor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I was raised in large part by my grandparents, and it was my grandfather who taught me that you have to give back. You have to give back to your faith, your family, your friends, and your community. I've tried to do that in Del Norte County. I've served on the Chamber of Commerce Board, on the Senior Center Board. I've twice been president of the Crescent City Rotary Club. I was chairman of the Del Norte County Planning Commission, and also the Del Norte Fish and Game Wildlife Advisory Commission. I'm very proud of the diverse group that's sponsoring and supporting my campaign. Business owners and rank and file labor members. Members of both parties have rallied to my side. I'm very, very proud to say that 5 former mayors of Crescent City have supported me in this campaign. But it really is all about you, what we can do together to improve our community, because truly together we're better.
Yes, thank you for coming out and listening to us tonight. my government experience and your view of me and how I conducted myself as a planning commissioner and a city councilman should tell you all that you really need to know about working together to make this community a better place. Conflict, I've had this conversation with many people, conflict is a good thing, but it's got to be healthy conflict. There's no reason why we cannot have a disagreement, talk it out, and walk away friends that can still work together. I exuded that at the city council level, and we'll do that as a supervisor as well. Please vote for me for District 1.
All right, let's give all of our candidates a big round of applause. A very big thank you to each and every one of you for showing up tonight and taking time out of your evening. I know time is precious. I'd like to invite Oscar Jensaw to come forward for a song. Thank you, Oscar. All right, we are at the closing of our program. Again, thank you all so much for coming out. I am assuming that y'all are very excited. I'm hot. I'm not hot anymore. Okay, good.
Yes, you are.
I'm assuming that all of y'all are excited about getting out to vote on March 3rd. It is so, so important. So if you are excited about voting, give me a yeehaw! Yeehaw!
KFUG Community Radio, you have just heard last week's Board of Supervisors Candidate Forum. It was hosted by the True North Organizing Network, happened at the United Methodist Church. Thanks to Pastor Dana Gilport for hosting that event and emceeing it. There is another forum coming up this week, this Wednesday, hosted by the local Realtors Association. KFUG will be at that forum, and we'll be recording that as well and airing it right here on your community radio station. If you'd like more in-depth information just about these candidates, check out our YouTube channel, KFUG Community Radio. Also our Facebook page. We have been lining up each of these candidates, and I think at this point in time we've gotten most of them through KFUG, so there are longer interviews with each candidate as we drill down into what their vision for Del Norte County. That is all, fans of participatory democracy. We'll catch you next time right here on KFUG Community Radio.